Okay, so we're going to start over again with Big Boy's Toys. After only a few hours' sleep, I woke up to the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. I helped myself to a cup and joined Lovey at the kitchen table. She wasn't real pleased about us staying out so late, but after telling her about the milkman, she was back to her good-natured, easygoing self. I thought Mr. Presley was still sleeping until he came through the door, his arms filled with 3 large bags of groceries. He immediately began putting the groceries away, and Lovey jumped up from the table to help. "Go read your paper, Vernon. I'll take care of this," she said, shooing him out of the kitchen. "I don't know why I let him go to the store, June. He knows whole chickens cost less, but look what he gets," she said, showing me the 2 trays of cut-up fryers. "Are we having fried chicken tonight?" I asked, thinking at any moment I'd start clucking. We'd had so much of it. "It depends on what Elvis is in the mood for," she answered. I volunteered to clean the chicken and was standing at the sink when Elvis walked up behind me and put his arms around my waist. "Get away! June is washing chicken!" Lovey screamed. Elvis backed off, let out a disgusted yuck, and left the room. "What was that all about?" I asked. "Elvis is funny like that, June. He won't eat chicken if he sees it before it's cooked," Lovey said, shrugging her shoulders. I finished cleaning the chicken and put it in a covered bowl in the refrigerator. I found Elvis in the den reading the morning paper and started teasing him about the raw chicken and having a weak stomach. "It's not a matter of a weak stomach, June. It's a matter of bad memories. Did you ever have to kill and pluck a chicken?" "I never did kill one, but I helped my mother pluck one." "How could you stand that smell, June? When you stick that dead chicken down in boiling hot water and the steam hits you in the face, yuck, that's the most disgusting smell in the whole world. I didn't mind chasing them around the backyard, throwing them over the clothesline, even whacking off their heads and waiting for them to stop flapping blood all over the place. That part was easy. It was that awful smell I couldn't stand." "Did you wash your hands good with soap?" he asked, taking both of my hands and putting them to his nose. Now my stomach was getting queasy, thinking about the raw chicken. I, too, could remember that nasty smell. "Are we having fried chicken again? We had fried chicken a few nights ago." "I like fried chicken, but not every other day," Elvis said, screwing up his nose. How about I'll fix the chicken tonight?" I suggested. He took me by the hand and led me back to the kitchen. "Mama, June's going to fix the chicken tonight," he announced. "Good," she answered. "How you going to fix it?" "Smothered with brown gravy, if that's okay." "Sounds good to me. We all like chicken any way it's fixed. Anything special you need?" "You probably have everything I need. Do you have any bouillon cubes? Maybe some green onions, celery, and parsley?" I added, giving it a little more thought. "What the heck is a bouillon cube, June?" Elvis asked. "It's a little cube you mix with water. It tastes like chicken broth and gives the gravy a good flavor. Normally you use a hen for stewing, but we have fryers, so I'll use bouillon cubes. Does that answer your question?" I asked, seeing the confused look on Elvis's face. Confused look. He's like, "What are you talking about?" Obviously, he never cooked in the past. I'm sure his mama cooked because it was her job. "Your answer was so long, June, I forgot the question. Sounds like a bunch of baloney to me." Everyone enjoyed dinner that evening, and Lovey commented on what a nice change it was to have rice and gravy instead of the mashed potatoes Elvis always requested. "You can do the cooking any time you want, June," she said, grateful for a break from the stove. The next day, after another enormous breakfast, Elvis pulled out a large box filled with a collection of gasoline-powered toys. Cars, trucks, airplanes, and race cars. A little boy's dream come true. When Elvis thought the neighborhood was awake, we went outside and raced the noisy little vehicles up the driveway, always starting at the front gate so they would slow down when they hit the grass. Elvis, so if you think about that picture I sent, you walk down the driveway to the front gate. And that's where, the fans would stand out. So they would go down to the front gate and start the cars. Elvis used, they would slow down when they hit the grass. Because what would happen is they would go up the driveway through the carport to the grass to the other side, which was in the backyard. That's probably what she's talking about. Elvis used a pull rope, similar to those used on lawnmowers, to start the little engines. Pat and I were no help starting the engines. We were afraid the propellers might cut off our fingers. Elvis had us running our legs off. He did the racing. We did the chasing. After several trips into the house for ice water, Lovey made us a pitcher of lemonade to keep outside. We played with the little vehicles until a crowd began gathering at the front gate. Elvis was pacing to and from the front door, keeping an eye on the crowd outside. When it finally thinned out, he jumped in the car, announcing, "I'll be right back." An hour later, he returned, driving a pickup truck with a male passenger in the front and a Hammond organ strapped in the back. "Where do we put this, Mama?" he asked, grinning like a little boy. They shifted the furniture in the den around, making room for Elvis's new toy. I've seen him playing this organ, and it's right next to the fireplace. So they shifted the furniture around because that's where the couch was. So they put the organ where the couch was. I'll see if I can find the picture. I think he's playing that organ with his friend Barbara Hearn, sitting by him. See if I can find that picture at some point. So they shifted the furniture in the den around, making room for Elvis's new toy. He sat at the organ, experimenting with every sound for the next few hours. Elvis's organ playing was briefly interrupted by a phone call from Nick Adams. Nick was at the Memphis airport expecting Elvis to pick him up. "Okay, good, man. We're kind of tied up here right now, so jump in a taxi and I'll have someone look out for you at the front gate," he said to Nick, then went to the side door to inform his security guard, Bitsy Mott. Bitsy Mott was the colonel's brother-in-law. Sounds like he's got another spy. So I don't know if June knew he was going to get the organ. And I don't know if they knew that Nick was coming. Maybe he did tell them that he was coming. I don't know. I had recognized Bitsy the moment we arrived at Audubon Drive, but it took me a while to remember where I'd seen this familiar face before. Then I remembered. It was on the Florida tour. Bitsy, like Colonel Parker, also hung out in the theater lobbies peddling Elvis pictures and programs. It wasn't until doing research for this book, so she didn't know until doing research for this book that I learned Bitsy Mott was the Colonel's brother-in-law, and like Nick Adams, was also a paid informer. Poor Elvis. On one of the colder October nights during my stay with Elvis, I volunteered to take a hot cup of coffee out to Bitsy, only because Lovey had her hands full in the kitchen. "Thanks, June. It is June, isn't it? From Biloxi, right?" Bitsy said when I handed him the coffee. I thought he was just being friendly, but really, he was getting his facts straight before reporting back to the Colonel. So he goes and calls his brother-in-law and says, "That girl Jean from Biloxi's up here in Memphis visiting with Elvis. She's been here for a week." Poor Elvis. He thought he was in control, but he was not. People doing stuff behind his back. People he was trusting. Nick Adams arrived wearing sunglasses, even though the sun was on its way down, looking like Mr. Hollywood with his California suntan. When Elvis had referred to Nick as a nice little guy, I thought it was because Nick was young, but it wasn't that at all. Nick was indeed a little guy. Even in his stacked shoes, Nick and I stood eye to eye when I was in my bare feet, and I'm only 5 feet 6 inches tall. So Nick was probably like 5'4" or 5'5", and he had the stacked shoes on. I don't know if they were 2 inches stacked or what, but he's a little guy. Nick appeared to be much older than Elvis, probably because of his receding hairline. But he didn't act older. He was as silly as we were, even more so at times. Nick was constantly cracking jokes in the voices of Mr. Magoo, Walter Brennan, and even Sylvester the Cat. His more serious impressions were John Wayne and Marlon Brando. Keeping us laughing most of the time, Nick had no problem fitting right in with the rest of us. Whenever Elvis was home for a reasonable amount of time, he would make arrangements to visit the local children's hospital, signing autographs and visiting with the seriously ill children, even though it was depressing, gave Elvis a lot of gratification. That is his true heart. On this particular day, Elvis invited Nick to join him for a hospital visit. As they drove through the gate, the crowd of fans followed behind. While everyone was gone, Pat and I decided to race the little cars. It took a while, but I finally got the little red racer started. Nervous about holding the loud little machine in my hand, I quickly placed it on the driveway about 10 feet from the iron gate. Let go. In my excitement, I had it facing in the wrong direction. Like a bolt of lightning, it roared off and crashed, wedging itself halfway under the iron gate. Little pieces of red plastic were scattered all over the driveway. In a panic, we took all the vehicles out of the box and put what was left of the little red racer, pieces and all, in the bottom of the box. I didn't know what I was going to tell Elvis about the red racer if he discovered it, but I knew he would. It was not only the fastest, but also his favorite. When he and Nick returned from the hospital, he immediately got out the box of toys and took them to the front gate. He pulled them out one by one, showing them to Nick. When he saw the little red racer, or what was left of it, in the bottom of the box, he looked at Pat and then at me. I was trying to keep a straight face, pretending not to know anything about it. "Okay, June, you want to tell me how it happened?" he asked, seeing the guilt in my face like a neon sign. Still trying to keep a straight face, I burst out laughing. I couldn't tell the front from the back, and when I let it go, I expected it to go up the driveway. But it didn't. It went the other way. It almost fit under the gate. Almost. I'm sorry. I really am. I didn't mean to hurt it, and I don't know why I laughed. I said, still trying to control my nervous laughter. "It's okay, baby. It was only my favorite," he said, picking up the smashed little racer, hugging it to his chest, and pretending to cry. He's like holding it up to his chest and going, That's cute. Aw, that's the end. Okay, that's the end of that chapter. So that was called Big Boys Toys. So big boys playing with little race cars. And then an organ. All right, so I'm going to try to find that picture of Elvis playing that organ. Because one time I thought it was the piano, and then I realized it was the organ. So that means, so when they bought this house, Audubon, in March of 56, and then they moved from there to Graceland in March of 57. Well, he bought it in 57, but he immediately went out to film Jailhouse Rock. And so they were having some work done in the house, so his parents continued to stay at Audubon for a couple more months. While he was out there in Hollywood, his parents were staying in Audubon, and then when he came back from Hollywood, more like June, they actually moved into Graceland of 57, June of 57. So this is in October of 56. So he buys that organ in October. So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So they've been in that house for 7 months. It's just interesting to time things out. But I'll find that picture, and maybe I can get a picture of that den. God, I would give anything to get a tour of that house and be able to walk through it. Just take my phone, go in that kitchen door, walk through the kitchen, kind of walk down and look through the dining room, go around that fireplace into the den, and then the area that may have been a back porch and they enclosed it, or maybe it was always that way. I don't really know. That's where that monkey is. And then you kind of come through the den back into the entryway, which is the front door. If you look to the right, you'd see the den. Look through the den, you'd see the doorway, and that over to the kitchen. And then, but then you turn to the left and go down the hallway to, which you could see. If you go to that hallway, you can look straight into a bathroom, but to the right of that bathroom is the doorway into the bedroom for Gladys and Vernon. And then you would turn left and go by the pool room, and then you'd go by Minnie Mae's room, and then you would walk into the master bedroom, and just to the left is the closet. There's a walk-in closet that Elvis, there's a picture of his clothes in there. And then right beside that closet is the little hallway that, it's not really a hallway, but kind of like a little hallway that opens into his bathroom. So that's the house. So it's crazy that I know the layout, but I just want to walk down it. And then he had a pool built outside. So if you were in the den, you would walk through. There was a door that went to a patio in the back. There's lots of pictures of him on that patio right before that July 4th concert in 1956 at Russell Park, where that photographer took a bunch of pictures. That's where most of the pictures come from of the house that I've seen. But there are some others. But yeah, that photographer was there. But you go out that back door to the back porch, and you go straight. You'd walk straight down to the pool. So anyway, all right. Well, I'm going to stop there, and I will post some pictures with this chapter, and then I'm going to read another chapter, but I don't want it to get too long. All right. Bye. Or the video to get too long. All right. See ya. Bye.